countdown to the last comic shop in 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Hey, it is now time for more of the Last Comic Shop Podcast!
That's right, we are opening up our metaphorical shop to help people find their way underneath this giant comic book tent of ours.
But in this scenario, it's been years later, and we're much more grizzled. Your super soldier serums have fizzled out a little bit. We're grayer.
It's like when you open the 2-liter bottle of Coke and then you forget about it at the back of the fridge for about 2 weeks, and you go to drink it and it's just not the same.
I was going to say, Chad, I wake up some days and I look in the mirror. I don't know how I can look more grizzled than what I already do. I'm the host with the most, Andy Larson, and I am as grizzled as them there hills. I'm like this close to being an 1890s prospector. And I'm joined by Chad Smith, J.A. Scott, who, again, ain't no spring peaches either.
No, when I wake up, I have to assess what I've hurt in the night while I was sleeping. What new injury or ailment awaits?
Speak for yourself, boys. I have no grizzle at all. This is lean. It's not
lean. You know what John Candy eats off the plate the first time.
It's not grizzle, it's chisel, huh? I see how it is. But if you're wondering why we're talking about grizzled old folks, it's because this week's book is filled with them. Filled with old geezers, except for Thor, because he doesn't age at all. It is Avengers Twilight, a 6-issue miniseries that just recently wrapped up there at Marvel, and Chad's been champing at the bit to read this on the show. So
yeah, we were talking off show about our comic book likes and dislikes. Never been a huge Avengers guy, so whenever I get an Avengers story I can sink my teeth into, I'm excited.
Oh yeah, and this was a pretty good one. Not to tease the review to come, but as an Avengers fan, I found myself enjoying it. But one other thing that I enjoy is our weekly polls. That's right. J.A. does not enjoy posting them at all. That's why we don't do these poll recaps very often. But every so often on the Last Comic Shop, you can actually go out to our social media and find these weekly polls that we put out to our fans on a variety of different topics that are somewhat related, somewhat related to the comics that we are reading.
The other one.
At the time. And it has been a long time since we did a poll recap. I think the last time we did it was in June. Here we are. We're all... No, not on Facebook. I mean,
Mastodon. Mastodon. Do we still have a Mastodon?
No, I got a SoftBand the very first day. Never went back.
In any case, what is that? The Kaza? What is the place where all the artists are now running to?
The Casbah.
The Casbah. Rocket. Yeah. In any case, yeah, we've got 5 polls on this week's show, and we're starting off with going way back to the middle of April when we read, what was it? 8 Billion Genies, right, J.A.?
That is correct. Best genie was the question. Who do you think is the best genie?
Yeah.
Is it Robin Williams in Aladdin? Is it Barbara Eden as Genie in I Dream of Genie? Or is it Shaq in Kazam?
Not Shazam.
Yeah, that's right. There is no movie with Sinbad as a genie. That doesn't exist ever. And those were the only 3 choices? Jeez.
They were. I guess I didn't go with Will Smith in Aladdin because I didn't want to see him get 0.
Okay. But boy, there were a lot that I thought from comic books and pop culture that creatures that grant wishes that you could have put on this list. Where was that dude from Death Note? I remember, wasn't he like all about the wishes and like the monkey's paw and other that? Chad read Death Note with us.
That was Joker Venom Punisher. He's not a genie.
Case. Chad, what did you vote for of the three that were given?
I've been dreaming of Jeannie ever since I was a wee lad, watching on reruns. So that's Barbara Eden got my vote.
Okay. I also voted for Barbara Eden. I really did enjoy that show. It took me forever to figure out that the guy that was in I Dream of Jeannie was also JR in Dallas. Like, I didn't understand that was Larry Hagman. It took me forever. Like, that can't be Larry Hagman, please. JR is so conniving and evil. And no, J.A., who did you vote for?
I voted for Barbara Eden as well.
But that didn't win at all.
Well, actually, she did, but it was a tie.
Oh!
So Robin Williams and Barbara Eden split the vote. Shaq with a very, very, very distant third and 7%.
That's because everybody was confused.
One person voted for him, or two people. I don't know.
They didn't even know. That's not Sinbad. I don't understand this. Can't believe they split the vote on that. Come on, folks. You gotta give Barbara Eden the nod there, right? I don't even know if I want to hear the rest of these polls. I am disappointed in our fans.
Way to go, America. And maybe some of the Philippines and occasional overseas voters on X. Blue Sky. The others.
All right. J.A., what was our second poll?
Our second poll was, which American city closest resembles Gotham? And while much of the Chris Nolan Batmans were shot in Pittsburgh, Pittsburgh was not one of the metropolises I went with. New York City, Chicago, Detroit, or Newark, New Jersey.
I voted for New York City because I still think that's more of Gotham than like Metropolis is. I don't actually know what the heck city Metropolis would be. No, like, I don't know where that would be. Gotham is least dirty, and sometimes I think New York City is dirty, so I love that. Chad?
Yeah, there is no way in Hades you would catch me in Gotham City. You have to be an absolute madman. There's no good parts of Gotham City. New York has the cultural district and all the fun stuff there. And Chicago is just awesome. All the great food in Chicago. And then you have New Jersey. No one would ever want to go to New Jersey. I feel bad for the people in New Jersey. No one ever ends up in New Jersey on purpose. It's just some kind of mafia thing, I think. I don't know. I'm probably going to get whacked. But Newark is my answer. That's the scariest place I've ever been. I stopped once, never want to stop again.
Yeah, I mean, the whole fact that Jersey has the motto as the Garden State, that's just pure marketing. It's a reason why they're called the armpit of America, right?
Right.
I went with Detroit, by the way,
Yes.
because that's also not the greatest place on earth.
But neither of them won, right?
New York City won.
It's very hard for me to wrap my head around either of these places, like Gotham City or Metropolis, Central City. I think that's in Nebraska. I don't know.
When I think of Central City, I'm like, oh, that's like Indianapolis. or the Twin Cities, you know?
Wisconsin and the other one.
Okay. What was poll number 3, J.A.?
Favorite European sci-fi film.
Oh, wow. Boy, some people had to pull out their Leonard Maltin movie guides for this one. Which ones did you pick?
The Fifth Element, the original Solaris by Tarkovsky, Zardoz,
Oh, yes.
and The Man Who Fell to Earth.
No, these are all good picks, actually. The only one that you left off here, I think it was Alphaville. Have you ever seen Alphaville? That's an interesting movie. Although I don't know if it's technically sci-fi. It's more like film noir or whatever. But long story short, I voted for Zardoz every day, all day. I am telling you right now, guys, when I pass away, don't care what Nicole wants. I want you guys to make sure that I am buried in one of those, like, cross-strap leather banana hanger things.
You know, this is going on the internet, and that's forever.
Well, yeah, there you go. Last Will and Testament of Andrew Michael Larson. That banana hammock is epic. And get me a wig that has like that ponytail. You're the man now, dog.
My goodness. It's going to be a closed casket. You can't let the kids see that kind of thing.
Guys, what did you vote for?
I'm not a European sci-fi guy, so I went with The Fifth Element. That's the one I remembered. You made us watch Zardoz once. No thanks.
J.A.?
I went with Solaris. Not a lot of people agreed with me. No one liked the Davy Bowie movie, apparently, because it got 0 votes. Fifth Element won in a landslide.
Yeah.
With 75% of the vote.
That's a good movie, too. I enjoy that movie. Not as much as Zardoz. I guess. What was poll number 4?
What original image title should we read next?
Ooh.
Since we had read Spawn, I said, which other original image title should we read? Should it be Youngblood? Should it be Wildcats? Should it be Shadowhawk? Or The Savage Dragon?
And I voted for, I think, Savage Dragon, because still, out of those 4, I think that's the only series that I can really stomach. And I genuinely enjoy Eric Larson's art. I really do. I remember buying Savage Dragon #1, and there's like that weird scene where he just jumps 1 billion feet in the air and then comes crashing down with those 2 guns. He's dressed up like a cop. It was just awesome. I tried to crib that in every single comic book I never could do it, but it was awesome. So yeah, Savage Dragon's my vote. Chad?
So I am going to go on record that this week I was asleep at the wheel. I did not vote. I regret not voting.
Yeah, Chad, that could come back to haunt you.
I would have drummed up all the support for Youngblood. But not just any Youngblood. The hard-to-find out-of-print version where Rob Liefeld went back and had it re-scripted and reorganized.
That pretty much just tells you what you need to know about his art, doesn't it?
Great storytelling.
Is it like a George Lucas recut of Star Wars or something like that?
It is, yes. So you can buy Volume 1 used in hardcover for $4,995.
Wow. Jesus.
So, in 2008, Rob Liefeld teamed up with Joe Casey and others to not only recolor, but to remaster and re-script his original Youngblood, which everybody knows was the first Image comic book, but they added a couple extra pages for an all-new ending, and it is out of print. It's super hard to find these days, but it actually reads pretty well. I was able to pick up a used copy a few years back, and it's everything you want out of Rob Liefeld's Youngblood.
I didn't know that I wanted anything out of Rob Liefeld's Youngblood. J.A., what did you vote for?
I went with Wildcats because that would have taken us both an Image book and a DC book at the same time. So we would have been 2 birds with 1 stone.
Oh, boy.
But Chad is going to regret not voting because Youngblood came in second at 29%, tied for first at just 33%, so just 4 percentage points off, Chad. Wildcats and the Savage Dragon.
Yeah. But I do want to point out that even though those were the official numbers from the X, we did actually get some cross-voting from threads that put Savage Dragon over the top. So Savage Dragon will be the comic book we'll be covering on a future episode of The Last Comic Shop. So the fans voted. Those threads came through for the Eric Larson awesomeness. So maybe we'll still get to Wildcats eventually. I don't know about Youngblood. Chad gets plenty of picks in 2025. That wants to be one of his picks. So be it. What's our last poll, J.A.?
Our last poll was, it was a doozy. Who is your favorite film killer? Is it Shiger from No Country for Old Men? Is it Leon the Professional from Leon the Professional? Ah Jong from The Killer, the great Hong Kong movie, or Vincent from Collateral, Tom Cruise in a disturbing role.
Was this Foreign Killer, right? Because it went with Golgo 13, right? This was about the same time.
Yeah. Trained professional killers.
It was that No Country for Old Men guy, right? Because
that noise that machine made.
Yeah. A cattle gun. No, Leon the Professional one. Again, no one voted for Tom Cruise because it's just not believable as a stone cold killer.
No, he's not. I remember seeing that movie in the theater with you, J.A., and I think I almost fell asleep. Is that Michael Mann? Is that a Michael Mann?
It is a Michael Mann. It is a Michael Mann. Yeah.
Terrible. Well, one thing that's not a Michael Mann production are our weekly polls. You can go out to our social media every week and vote on them, continue to vote on them. I think we're taking a little hiatus right now, but they'll be back sooner or later, and we'll be back right after these commercial breaks with our review of Avengers Twilight. So stay tuned for that.
BCWSupplies.com has everything a comic collector could need. Boards, bags, long boxes, and so much else for our ever so increasing collections. And you can save 10% on your total order by using promo code LCSPOD at checkout. Not only does this take 10% off BCW Supplies' already low prices, but it supports my favorite podcast, The Last Comic Shop. So get all your collecting gear at bcwsupplies.com and save 10% on your order with promo code LCSPOD at checkout. That's LCSPOD at checkout. Happy hunting!
Hey everyone, Brian Thomas here from the former The Batman vs. James Bond show and the upcoming The Night Cave show. Do you like noir, black and white gritty murder mysteries? Do you like crime stories or even pulp comics? Then you're gonna love Nick Palahniuk's debut graphic novel entitled The Greenway. It's 1968, and Butch Schultz, a black market merchant, finds that his friend has been murdered in a mansion in St. Paul. Now he is out looking for who did it, while the city's best detectives are on the case. Nick's graphic novel is already getting rave reviews, let me tell you. Zero Supervision Comics podcast says, a dark, intriguing story that makes you want to know more. The Glenn Thinks Stuff podcast says, it's explosive, captivating, and alluring. And actor Kyle Hester from The Chair, Zombie with a Shotgun, and Preacher 6 says, can't wait for this book. You gotta get on this. Order your copy today at Indie Planet, A New World of Comics. That's www.indieplanet.com. Hard copies and digital copies are available, and now digital copies are only $5. That's where I said it, just $5. So make sure you order yours today.
And we are back. Now we get to talk about Metamucil. And
Are you regular?
AARP. And Depends.
That's the last thing I want to think of is like the Hulk and Depends. That's just no. So,
anyways, we are talking about Avengers Twilight, which was a limited series out of Marvel, sort of Elseworlds-esque, if you will, not in the main timeline. But Chad, tell us who worked on this book.
So yeah, this was a 6-issue miniseries done by Chip Zdarsky and Daniel Acuña. So no delineation between writer and artist. They were working together there. We got VC's Corey Pettit on letters. You had some beautiful covers by Alex Ross. Daniel Acuña did some covers. Scotty Young did covers. There's tons of great covers out there for this one.
All right. And Andrew, what is the series about besides people being old?
Well, that does play a huge part in this 10-cent synopsis of Avengers Twilight. So many, many years in the future, Captain America is an old geezer. In fact, everybody's kind of old. It takes place in this future after something called H-Day, in which Ultron took over a lot of supervillains and also the Hulk, and basically wrecked a couple cities and gave all the superheroes really bad name. And everybody like kind of blames the superheroes for the destruction and everything like that. So they're kind of like outlawed per se, maybe. I don't know. Like it was kind of nebulous when it came to like exactly the legal status of superheroes. But long story short, Captain America had to give up his super soldier serum, and he's just an old dude enjoying his retirement with folks like Matt Murdock, who's enjoying his retirement to a certain degree, and Luke Cage, whose skin became so bulletproof that it's really hard for him to get around. But they're not really enjoying it as much as they could, because at the same time that they're getting older, the United States is becoming more fascist and totalitarian. The news outlets are only showing certain things, and so you're only getting one side of the story. A lot of things are being swept on the table, and it's all basically kind of controlled by big corporations, primarily the biggest one being Stark Industries, run by the son of Tony Stark and Janet Van Dyne, who is not following in his papa's footsteps, but instead following the goose steps of one Hair Skull. That's right, the Red Skull ends up being the baddie, trying to manipulate things from behind the scenes. But Captain America picks up the shield, man, gets the band back together, and like, I don't know, that Wild Hogs movie, they ride motorcycles? I don't know.
Helicarriers or Quinjets, right?
That's your 10-cent synopsis. It's getting the band back together. We can still do this. We can fight for America, even though we're the old fogies. So, yeah. That's it. I mean, it's in some ways similar to some of Chip's work in previous books. I can think back to when we read Spider-Man Life Story towards the tail end of that series when you had Spider-Man as an old man. But yeah, I'm curious about you guys, because I mean, I like this just because it's the Avengers and it's the classic Captain America, Iron Man, Thor. You get a Hawkeye. You got Ms. Marvel, and then you got, Hulk shows up, but he's not an Avenger, man. Whatever. I just
you get Wasp.
You do get Wasp. So it was a classic team. I enjoyed it, but I'm the Avengers fan. What did you guys think? Start off with J.A.
I love the art. I thought the art was great. Not really paint by numbers, but you kind of see where it was going. Future Earth, totalitarian. People have overreacted to some sort of terrorist attack and instituted all these draconian laws. And then the great hero needs to come back and put on the mantle again and show us what we've lost and fight for the people that are being downtrodden with all these totalitarian laws. I did like the little elements that they did with all these older superheroes, like the idea that Luke Cage's skin would, reduce him to a wheelchair because he can't move. It's sort of like what they did with Logan in the movie. I don't know if they did it in the book, Old Man Logan, where his adamantium skeleton was killing him. So taking an element of the superhero that is quintessential to their character and then extrapolating it 50 years into the future and saying, okay, what used to make them strong is now making them weak. I wanted a bit more of Miss Marvel. She kind of just shows up, and I thought that her character beats weren't really explained enough. They used her. She
becomes the mom.
Yeah.
Yeah, and also it's sad because she becomes kind of superficial once Jan shows back up. Because at the time, in the earlier issues before Jan comes back, Ms. Marvel was filling the role of that person that grows, right? The Avengers always have that person that grows. Like, that's one of their core components of the team when you think about it. And so she was the growy person. And then Janet comes back and she's like, I'm also the growy person. And then you're like, okay, well, what's Ms. Marvel going to do? Just be the other growy person? You're going to have a growy girls group? Like, I became superfluous after Wasp came back. And that's sad.
And also then in the future, apparently all the young kids are getting tats, like lots and lots of tats.
That's happening.
That's been happening.
That's a thing, dude. Like, just because we're old and don't have tats, don't mean that like people ain't being tatted up all over the place. Chad, this was your pick. You hate the Avengers. Absolutely hate them unless it has a Wolverine and Spider-Man on the team.
It's the best ones. The best ones.
What did you think of this?
Okay, so let me preface this, because emotionally I'm all over the place on this one, right? And I want to start by praising the Daniel Acuña artwork. We have not talked about a Daniel Acuña book, and his art is his style exists somewhere between the painted Alex Ross and a more traditional comic book cartooning. But he always delivers, no matter what book he's on, whether it's Thor, whether it's here. Uncanny Avengers had some Daniel Acuña in it.
Yes, it did. Daniel Acuña was on that book.
Some Hickman Avengers too. This guy, he's one of those just consummate creatives that, everything is clear. I love his style, and he's never so far gone into the realism that it becomes stiff or, unexciting. But it has that touch of reality to it. Big props for Daniel Acuña. Now, on the Chip Zdarsky front, this is where it gets more complicated for me, because when I was first exposed to Chip Zdarsky, I want to say it was the Howard the Duck miniseries that he worked on.
Yep.
And then working backwards into Sex Criminals, where he was the artist. Initially, Chip Zdarsky was this super creative, super original, hilarious guy. And he was one of my favorite comic book personality is the wrong word, but if I saw Chip Zdarsky's name was on a book, I was going to get it. Right. And fast forward a little bit, I think in order to distance himself from being the comedy guy and to write serious books, the tone of Chip Zdarsky shifted a little bit. And I'll be honest, Chip Zdarsky to me is now the lead singer of the cover band for whatever book he's working on. Right?
Jeez.
I mean, think about it. His Daredevil run is him doing the cover of Frank Miller. His Batman run is him doing covers of Grant Morrison and a few other people mixed in. He takes from different spots. This is obviously just Kingdom Come, starring the Avengers. And it is paint by numbers. But I reconciled with that. I no longer come to a Chip Zdarsky book looking for creativity and originality. Instead, he's like a lesser Mark Millar, right?
Wow!
And I enjoy Mark Millar.
Is this a backhanded compliment?
Mark Millar, well, he's not as good as Mark Millar, but Mark Millar will put out these big event books. Like, I'm thinking the original Old Man Logan. Like, I'm thinking about Civil War. Like, when Mark Millar put his name on a Big Two book, you knew you were getting something special. When Chip Zdarsky puts his name on a Big Red book, you're getting something pretty good. And that's what this is. It's a pretty good Avengers story that plays all the notes you expect it to hit. Oh, Steve's old now. He doesn't have the soldier serum. Luke Cage, for crying out loud, just is Batman from Kingdom Come, where he comes out in that armor at the end because his skin's all broken. Gets the meta-skeleton. But at the same time, like I said, it's a lesser Mark Millar, where this was a big event series. I enjoyed all the twists and turns. Like Hawkeye / Bullseye comes out of nowhere, but everything else is pretty much paint by numbers, but done so with a quality artist in Daniel Acuña, with all the events that you want to see happen. You want to see Thor come back and be like, yeah, sorry, it's tough to watch people get old and die, so I usually just cut out. And, like those Makes moments, sense. Like Zdarsky plays the notes that you want him to play. And as long as I know that I'm buying a ticket to a Bon Journey show instead of the real deal, I can enjoy it. And that's where I am with this one.
Yeah. I mean, I was in a similar boat with you, Chad. I think that was honestly one of the most scathing reviews you've ever done on this show. But I was in the same boat. I was. I mean, I thought to myself, I'm like, you're just putting together the old Avengers, which is fine. You're putting them up against the two of the big rogues gallery members of the Avengers and the Red Skull and Ultron in the background. Democracy triumphing over fascism. Bring back Nazis. Bring back Red Skull as your main antagonist. Put him out in front and center, and then put Captain America strapping up the shield and going out there and fighting the good fight again. But that's the thing. I think this was done well. I think that there were moments where I caught glimpses of Chip's dialogue, which I really do like. I think he is somebody that can write really good one-liners and moments like they find out that like Red Skull is working for Ultron, and basically Captain America says, "Hey, we kicked his ass several times too," and then Thor's like, "Verily," like it's everything that you want. But at the same time, I think that this is an important book because despite that being a story that's been told 1,000 times, Captain America trudging back and democracy triumphing over fascism, I hate to say it, in the political landscape that we are in now and where we are as America, I think it's a story that needs to be told and folks to be reminded. I think you need to have stories in which Nazis are freaking bad guys. And you have things in, the background saying like, hey, people are manipulated by conspiracy theories and things like that to a certain degree. And even though they're sitting there saying like, yeah, this can't be true, enough people go along with it. And I think that's all important. So I applaud Chip for taking a stand, saying some stuff that I just think is important to be restated in these days.
Yeah. Remember Marvel 2-in-1? Man, I think it was the last time Chip Zdarsky really made me feel.
I do remember Marvel 2-in-1. I like that. I like.
No, that was good.
I like this. I thought this was good. It was
fine. It
was an Avengers story, but it was a well-told Avengers story. It had moments that made me go, yeah, let's go. But it also had Tony Stark in his head in a tube, like he was a member of the Futurama cast.
Yeah, that's Chip Zdarsky is great at bringing in, like, hey, bring in the Futurama notes, play those here. I'll bring in the Dark Knight Returns. There's a great Dark Knight Returns Hawkeye cover out there, I want to say, for issue number 5. He's playing the notes, but he plays them well. But it does make me sad for the old original Chip Zdarsky. I don't know where he went. But maybe one day he'll get his super serum back.
Yeah, maybe he will.
Well, the whole underground, why were they all dressed like the zombies from the Omega Man?
I thought they were Moon Knights.
No, I agree with J.A. They definitely look like they were about to lock horns with Charlton Heston.
And the other thing, so Janet Van Dyne, was she like in suspended animation? Because she doesn't look like she aged at all. She's got my genes. Everybody else looks like you two.
Oh, shots fired.
Didn't get that. She was stuck in the ring, and then she came out of the ring, and
So she could be safe against Jim Steranko.
I know it. She must have been
Hitler.
in the quantum zone.
There you go. She was trapped in Ant-Man 3.
Before we go to commercial break, that does bring me to one question. It's kind of a nerd question. I hate to be that guy, but I'm going to ask a question because it's kind of tangential to this book and other things. Do you think the Captain America's super soldier serum makes him technically immortal or age less than other human beings? You would think that. And it's like he takes it in this, like he's really old and decrepit. He takes this, and then it's like just shot in the arm or something, and he looks all young and a little bit more vibrant. But what is your take on that? The super soldier serum and age. Like, they never really clearly defined it.
I always saw it as just enhancements. Like, he still has, like, the creaky old man knees, and, like, had he been taking it consistently, he would have been, perpetually 35 years old in terms of strength and virility and all that other stuff. But
I didn't realize he had to always take it. I thought it was like a one-shot deal, and then he became super soldier man. And that they could just take it out of him. I didn't realize that. So that was an interesting take, because I always assumed he took the serum once, it made him Captain America, and that's it. And then I would say it allows him to age more gracefully than other people, because he's, like a shining specimen of a human being, but he's still a human being, essentially, just with super strength and super agility and I guess super longevity. But he's not Thor, and he's not like Matt Murdock, who now can just tell if you're wearing bad old man cologne.
I was just curious. I always thought about that. I mean, because other than being put in the ice, like, yeah, sure, that stopped the aging process. But I just always thought, like, there must be something with the serum that makes him age less. I did like that.
Well, I mean, he ages about the same as Spider-Man, so whatever Spider-Man's got going on.
Oh! And they gave him a beard. They finally gave him a beard. They dadded him up in Ultimate Spider-Man. That's why I like it. I did like the one throwaway line that there was in here where basically they were like, we tried to give the serum to other people. Yeah, it doesn't work on everybody. I was just like, that's clever. Like, that makes sense to me. I don't know why that does, but it makes sense. Any case, one thing that also makes sense is the fact that we got to continue with the show with ratings right after this commercial break. So stay tuned for our ratings of Avengers Twilight.
We're all familiar with the Golden Age, Silver Age, Bronze Age, and Modern Age of comics, but we can't still be in the Modern Age after almost 4 decades, can we?
We don't think so. And that's why we started the Iron Age of Comics, a critical re-evaluation of comic books from about 1985 to 2000.
On this podcast, we go beyond the chromium covers and the grim and gritty cliches, and take a deep dive into one of the most vibrant but divisive periods in comics history.
That's the Iron Age of Comics, with new episodes every first and third Wednesdays of the month. And look for us on social media, where the handle is @Iron Age of Comics.
When 6 teenagers are caught in a devastating storm, they wake up the next day with unimaginable abilities. Now the same storm that gave them their powers has awoken an ancient evil set on destroying their home and the world at large, and it's up to them to stop it. In a world without heroes, they're here to kick some ass. Read Born a Storm, a new ongoing series for free at Born a Storm Comic on Instagram. #Born a Storm.
All right, we're back with more of The Last Comic Shop, and it is now time for ratings, where I think Jeopardy and Wheel of Fortune are coming on soon, so we've got to wrap this show up, because I got to get that TV and dinner and sit. I'm feeling my years. And one thing,
break out the tray.
That's right. I got them at a yard sale. They're wonderful. They've got like a picture of a lake, and there's like there's some does and a buck in the
You're waiting until Jeopardy for dinner. I had my dinner at 3:00.
Yes. We've got a 1 out of 4 scale coming from J.A. Scott. J.A., what do we got this week?
It's 1 out of 4 crutches. Because, and this works on so many levels. The old man in the book could use crutches. Chip Zdarsky using crutches.
Ooh. Now he has to come on the show. Right? I mean, you guys are just slamming him, and that seems to be our MO sometimes with getting some folks on the program. But regardless, I'm going to go first because I'm the Avengers fan. I am the Avengers fan, and I really enjoyed this. I mean, is it the best Avengers book I ever read? Hell no. There are better Avengers books out there, and I don't care if anybody tells you that there aren't really good Avengers books, or the only ones that are good have Wolverine and Spider-Man in them, please. There are plenty of good Avengers books with plenty of good Avenger teams, and this is a classic team. You get Captain America, Thor, Iron Man, Wasp, Ms. Marvel, Hawkeye. That's all you need. Got the growy person, got somebody to shoot arrows there. And again, to my point earlier in the show, this is a story that, although it's been told in regards to totalitarian regimes controlling the media and keeping, the truth under wraps and making bad guys out to be the villains, and you can't trust anything, and the fake news and all that stuff. I genuinely think that it's a story that, again, resonates now more than ever. Punch Nazis. If you heard it here on The Last Comic Shop, if you didn't know what my political views are punch Nazis. They deserve to be punched. And so the Red Skull gets his punch in this book, and I'm really glad that Captain America delivers it. For me, it's a 3. I'm glad that Chad picked this out, even though it seemed like he hated it. We'll see what his rating is here in just a second. Chad?
So I did enjoy it. For as much grief as I gave it, it's only because I used to hold Chip Zdarsky in high regard as a writer. But the art here is very good. The story is exactly what you would want out of a mid-tier writer doing Kingdom Come Avengers. And as not a big Avengers fan, but I do like the Avengers characters on an individual basis. I thought Cap was handled well. The Tony Stark with his son taking over, that was pretty close. I think I wish there was more with him and Jan, and I wish there was a little bit more time to develop that. I honestly could have seen this being a 12-issue series as opposed to 6, and stretching that stuff out a little bit more. It was nice to see the maturity of Miss Marvel, who has been the perpetual Peter Parker of the Marvel Universe for the last couple of years, and now she becomes the mom. She becomes the protector. She becomes that next generation she's taken over in the story. So all that stuff it was good to see. And so I know I've ragged on this quite a bit, but it's what you want out of a story of this caliber. And so grading is hard. I'm going to say a 2.75 just because I miss the old Chip Zdarsky. But it was fine. It's fine.
J.A.?
Yeah, I think we're going to agree with Chad. I think the story itself is about a 2.5 in terms of plot. It is very paint by numbers. You sort of know where it's going. There are some interesting beats within that. The art is what elevates it. I really love the art. I think the Daniel Acuña art, it's really impactful. His panel layouts are great. His action scenes are incredible. What he's done with each of the characters and the costumes to sort of future and age them up, I thought was quite good. So I am also going to give it a 2.75 crutches. It was a fun read. It was a quick read.
Yeah, we didn't really talk about the costume designs, but I really did enjoy they looked futuristic without being so far gone from the original intentions. They also just look cool.
Yeah.
Like Thor gets that badass new hat.
Right, but I think that was by design too, because even though this is a quote unquote future book, I think if you place it too far into the future, it loses the resonance that I was talking about. Like, we're dealing with this now, where like somebody that he is a bad guy, like that beginning of the book where you have Red Skull, and they're like, could Red Skull have been fighting against Hitler and trying to bring down the Third Reich, and how like Captain America was pushing him around, and we're going to take a re-look at the awesomeness of Red Skull, and you're just like, no, dude was evil. Like, stop making him out to be something other than he isn't. Like, there's no 3 dimensions here. It's one. Bad guy, punch it. Like, I don't get it. So I agree. Like, if you had changed the costumes too much, then I think you would have lost some of that. You have to ground it in stuff that people can see around them right now. So, in any case, one thing that we can see around us right now is our recommendations. Yes, this is the time of every single show we give you other comic books that you can pick up in addition to Avengers Twilight, which you should probably still be able to find on the stands at your local comic book shop. But if you can't, there is a trade paperback of it coming out later this August. So I think it's maybe the second to last week in August, or maybe the last week in August. It'll be in your shops in trade paperback if you want to check it out. So here are our recommendations. We're going to go ahead and start off with Chad. Chad, what do you got for us this week?
So my recommendation is going to be a series that came out a few years back. Let me go back and oh god, I can't see anymore. Why do they make this so small?
Because you're an old man.
That's what she said.
The print didn't become small. Your eyes are just bad.
Yeah, all right. I don't know what that number is. Okay. So anywho, the book I'm going to recommend came out a few years back, and it is a continuation of Mark Millar's Old Man Logan, which was tons of fun. If you like the Mark Millar big summer blockbuster style story, that one's always a good one. But this is actually Old Man Hawkeye, where it recaptures that Western tone as you get Hawkeye. And this is the screw up Hawkeye, not the second in command to Captain America Hawkeye. But he is traveling the country, fighting Venoms, disappointing Kate Bishop, suffering the losses that he's incurred over the years, and facing down Bullseye, which they elevate to main event status for Hawkeye here. But it was 12 issues. It was tons of fun. It was available in 2 trades. It is Old Man Hawkeye. It's also the first experience I had with Marco Cicchetto's arc on a regular basis. He's the guy currently on Ultimate Spider-Man, and he worked with Chip Zdarsky on his Daredevil run. And you can't go wrong with Marco Cicchetto. I'm going to say Cicchetto. Bad with names. I apologize, Marco.
Okay. All right. Well, I'm going to go next. And on the kind of I hate to say it, the little bit of the political tip that I was on earlier, I'm going to follow up with another book that comes out of AWA Studios that I really, really enjoyed. Thank you so much to AWA Studios for sending us a copy of this so that I could check it out once it was released in trade paperback. But it is Rumpus Room by former Last Comic Shop guest Mark Russell, with art by Ramon Rosanas. And this tells the story of Bob Shrunk, who is a new age billionaire, kind of cut out of the cloth of folks like, I don't know, maybe Jeff Bezos or something. Basically somebody that has so much money that they have lost all touch with reality. And as a result of that, feels like he can do anything, including keeping people locked in a secret room underneath his mansion so that he can periodically kill them in a crushing machine, take their essence, and make skin cream out of it. Yes, that's what Bob Shrunk is doing in his Rumpus Room, which is where he keeps all of these folks. And most of these folks are just folks that just happen to come over to his house. And things go a little bit sideways when an undercover cop actually gets captured by Bob and thrown into the Rumpus Room and has to go through all of the political machinations of people that are in a really bad situation, yet are still deciding like who should be the next person in the room to get killed. Like, even though they could all just team up in some way and try to escape, they don't want to do that because they're being fed. Some of them have been there for a long time, and of course they would have the voting powers to vote other people out, so they're not really in danger. So they're like, okay, we're safe, we're fine living in this room being prisoners because we're in charge of the prison, quote unquote. It's a truly excellent social satire. About, like, again, the lies that some people believe about how terrible things really are, yet they're like, yeah, things are fine, and we're okay with dealing with these terrible things because, we're comfortable, and how it might take somebody to shake you out of that comfort zone to actually take action. There's a lot of twists and turns in Rumpus Room. So, again, out of AWA Studios, fantastic comic book group and another really great book from them. So check out Rumpus Room when you get the chance.
Well, I'm going back to the original, back to the start of the Avengers. And I recommend these all the time, usually when we read a book that kind of coincides with them, because A, I have them on my shelf. B, they are super approachable and they're a great introduction to Marvel Comics as a whole, and that is the Penguin collection for the in this case for the Avengers, but you can get Spider-Man, Captain America, Fantastic Four, X-Men, Black Panther, but I'm recommending the Avengers, Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Roy Thomas, Don Heck, John Buscema, Sal Buscema. It collects Avengers 1, 2, 3, 4, 9, 16, 26, 28, 44, 57, 58, 71, 74, and 83, as well as Tales to Astonish and an Avengers Annual #1. And again, the pages are a matte finish, so the colors are much more representative of what they had been, sort of that dot printing. It's not dot printing, it's modern coloring, but it's not what you see in the omnibus that's like super glossy. And some great original Avengers stories. You got the return of Captain America, you got the original team, you got Iron Man in his giant iron suit that lasts all of 3 issues or 2 issues, and then he gets a proper suit. You get Ant-Man and Giant Man and the Wasp, and the Hulk is there for a bit. Thor is there, and he also has the cane thing because they haven't worked out that he's a god yet.
He's still being taught humility. That's what is that's where it all came from. Those are some great stories. One of my favorite issues of all time, of all comic books, is in that collection. That's Avengers #3. It's like the dark period right before Captain America bursts on the scene, where you have the Avengers have to track down the Hulk, and he joins forces with the Submariner, and basically you've got Iron Man, Thor, and Giant Man and Wasp up against Hulk and the Submariner in a huge fight. Great story. Plus, You said 57 and 58. That is the first appearance of the Vision, as well as the android Cryon and the Ultrons and stuff. Those are good issues too. Man, that's a great collection, JA. You're not selling it enough. That's good stuff.
You can get it in your bookstore. You can get it in your comic book shop, and they're like $25, $30. It's really well priced for a lot of comic. I mean, omnibuses should be priced this way.
Yeah, absolutely, and colored that way. Yeah, the nice gold leaf, just great stuff.
Heck yeah, Penguin knows how to class it up. Make you feel like you're reading literature.
And the cover's green, so it doesn't attract nearly as many fingerprints as that Black Panther edition.
There, I think you sold me there.
Yeah,
So-
and they redid their printing process too, so the gold leaf doesn't flake off.
Well, there you go. One thing that we're also hoping is that you don't flake off on the Last Comic Shop, and that you rate, review, and subscribe, so you never miss any of our episodes for the rest of the summer. That's right. We still got all of August here at the Last Comic Shop with some fantastic episodes coming up. We're finally going to get around to wrapping up the Krakoan Age here at the Last Comic Shop. JA has us reading the X-Men in a future show, so make sure that if you're a fan of everything that's been going on in the X universe over the last couple of years, that you tune in for that episode. Plus, just around the corner, I think less than maybe 10 episodes from now will be our 200th episode of the Last Comic Shop podcast. That's right, 200 episodes of us old men talking about comic books, educating you, bringing the comic books to the masses, and we will be covering Watchmen with a host of past guests, hoping to bring back so many folks that we loved talking with comic books over the years with, and it's just going to be something special. So rate, review, and subscribe over at www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com.
That's right. And while we might have that countdown on to 200, and while we might call ourselves the Last Comic Shop, we don't want to be the Last Comic Shop. So we want you to go out there to your comic shops, to your bookstores, and look for some of those books we were talking about this week. Obviously, the big one is Avengers Twilight by Zdarsky and Acuña. That's a goodie. Or you can go with Old Man Hawkeye by Ethan Sachs and Marco Cicchetto. Maybe you want to go with Rumpus Room by Mark Russell and Ramon Rosanas. Or that awesome Penguin collection of Avengers that has the all-time greats, some of the best Avengers stories, some of which I still have to go back and read for the first time there. Because like I said, I wasn't a big Avengers guy. Maybe I would have more of an appreciation if I sat down with that Penguin collection. But those really are super nice. But all that and more waits for you at your local comic shops, your local bookstores. Let's keep this stuff going. We want to keep these stories rolling on for generations and generations, just like these Avengers books seem to extend to generations and generations as well. We're at Last Comic Shop on most social media platforms. And you can always go back to our website, www.lastcomicshoppodcast.com, where, Jay, what can folks find there?
Link to our merch store. This week, we have a special on old man pants. That's right. You belt them around your belly button.
I'm there, man.
They allow everything to move freely beneath that.
Hike 'em high.
We also have t-shirts, coffee mugs, tote bags, but man, free belt with your pants.
Free belt with your pants. Man, I feel like, wow, that's like free dessert with your dinner. Like, do I have a coupon for that? Do I need a coupon for this? Wait a second. Hold on. Let me see if I have it in my big giant old man wallet. Let's see here. Coupon. Chad, do you have a coupon for all of this?
I don't, but I can talk for hours about the way things used to be when Chip Zdarsky stories were funny. Creative. For the day.
Man. Chip, if you ever want to come on the Last Comic Shop podcast and just tear Chad up.
Don't you see what Chad's been doing? He's been meta the whole time. It's commentary. He is acting like the characters within the book as the old man.
It's all part of the plan.
All right. Well, until next week, when we hope that you come back and listen to all of us old men, I was the host with the most, Andy Larson. I was joined by Chad Smith and J.A. Scott. And remember to stay safe, stay cool, and if you're going to take a bath, it's better to just leave it where it is. I mean, isn't that just the right thing to do? I think I actually used that one before. Maybe I did. I'm getting too old for these dad jokes. Let me see if I can find another one.
That's perfect. No, you don't need to find another one. You're obviously too old.
Anything to shut me up, I guess.
The Last Comic Shop podcast was a 2024 Black Angus production.